So, when you, how many duty stations have you been to?
Started out at Fort Stewart in 315 when it was still light, and then I went to Fort Benning for about 5 years, did some POI stuff there, and then I came here.
Okay. What POI? What's that?
So I started out working for Ibeluk. We'd go out there in the Bradleys and let them do, like get some sticks training with those. Like they get time like being a Bradley commander, and then like they used to have a culminating event in Ibeluk. I don't know if they do it anymore. It was CCME, where they would like, it'd be like force on force, and they'd just get reps doing that. And then I transitioned after that to work for Bradley Master Gunner School, where I shot an egregious amount of gunneries.
Okay.
So it transitioned pretty well coming here. But yeah, it was an experience here, to say the least.
So you've been heavy infantryman. I mean, I'm sure you've done some dismounted or light stuff. You did say obviously, but when it was light. But so you've done both.
Yeah.
Do you like, which one do you like more?
I would say a lot of people hate on the Bradley, especially being here, but I think it's just like because they don't work a lot. People don't know how to fix them. They don't know how to maintain them. When the Bradley actually works, it's like one of the most lethal things on the battlefield.
Right.
So, and you don't have to walk as much. I'm getting a little bit older, so
that's fair.
There's only so many miles on the tires that you have. I will say there's a I always help train the dismounts too, just because like I do like the dismounted piece, but
yeah.
I would say it's a mixed bag of both. Depends on the day, if my knees hurt or not.
Right. Yeah. It's always easy to be able to hop in. So, you know, and I hate to add, because I know what we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But have you ever thought about switching to?
Nothing's going to take the blue cord off.
All right. I just want to make sure. I know there's like an actual Bradley, MOS now.
Yeah. The 19 Charlie thing was a wild transition at least for this place. It was, you get people and it's like, oh yeah, reclass to be a 19 Charlie, and it's like, what do you know about the Bradley? It's like, well, I'm still learning. It's like,
I know there was a big signing bonus.
I know you got $100,000 for this. What comes with
Which
that?
Which is good. No knowledge that came with automatically signing, but it was good. I think the Army's still quietly transitioning a lot of infantrymen to be 19 Charlies, and I think it'll all buff out here in the future. So the installation has E3B going on, and I say E3B. I'm going to make you explain what E3B actually means.
So E3B is basically just means you're an expert in whether it's ESB for like the soft skill MLSs, or EIB for the infantry guys, or EFMB, which is the Expert Field Medic Badge for the medics. Which I found out last year was a lot harder than I thought it was. I didn't know if everybody had to take a written exam before this, I think the crop would be a lot smaller.
What do you mean by soft skill?
Like non-combat MLSs.
For the ESB, for the Expert Soldier Badge. So Expert Soldier Badge, Expert Infantryman Badge, and then Expert
Field
Medic Badge. Okay. So that all gets wrapped up into a massive, I guess, how long have you guys been out there?
The graders have been out there for almost 5.5 weeks now. The candidates have been out there for about a week and a half.
Okay, so what are you guys doing in preparation? Like, that's 4.5 weeks longer than the grader. Than the trainees. You just said that word. What word?
Candidate.
The candidates. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Than the candidates have. So what are you guys doing leading up to those 4 weeks? What's so hard setting up a lane in the middle of the woods?
You go out there, you set up the lane, and then like there's certain specifications that the EIB committee like hold you to. So like you can't have your retrain area inside of your graded, your testing area. All that stuff has to pan out, and then you get your internal validation where the sergeant major or the OIC of the lane will come down and they validate that you actually know what you're talking about and know the task, and then the committee will come down the following week, and then it's just a lot of validation.
Because I would imagine, and not saying that once you're an expert, you lose that expertise. But some of these skills are obviously, like, you've done them before, but then they kind of fade. Like you said, like we were kind of before we started, you're on the AT4, not the javelin. Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
You're on the javelin. How often do you get to play with a javelin up until like now it's time to train on it? And so
not very much. I think. To be honest, I think with a lot of things in the Army, like with E3B, possibly Ranger School, some of those things, like I think you should have to recertify, because it is very perishable, and there's a lot of the stuff that you, like you said, sir, you don't really get to mess with all the time. So you come back to it and you have to mess with it a little bit. So the validation is very much needed.
So when you you got selected for the javelin, is that just random? Like you just, hey, this is what you're going to be, or you got to at least say, hey, I'm comfortable with this thing.
I originally said I would like to do the 240, and I don't really know what happened, but I got shifted to the jav. But after you mess with it for 2 weeks, you gain proficiency through trauma.
So what makes this so difficult? And let me kind of explain, because I get it. Like, right, you're put through the ringer. Like, there's pressure. Like, everybody wants to succeed. So like, there's just that pressure of that comes with not wanting to fail. And then there's these tasks, and we, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we teach these tasks to initial entry soldiers. But then obviously it's not tasks that you do every day. But then they get how many weeks to train up? Like 1 or 2?
They get 2 weeks to train up.
2 weeks to train up, right? Again, basic soldier skills here as far as like what we're asking them to do. And I'm not trying to belittle anything that people are going through. Like, I'm really not. But what makes like this so difficult? Because I remember last year, I was in 1st Brigade last year, and we're preparing to get this list of soldiers that are going to get these awards. The people that make it straight through. And first time goes. And so I'm watching this list, and after day 1, we go from over 1,000 to below 500. And I'm like, wow, again, not to say it's not hard, but what makes that so difficult?
It's just the attention to detail that you have to have throughout a prolonged period. So it's there's 3 different lanes: the medical, patrol, and then the weapons lane. There's 10 tasks on each one, and everything is in sequence. So if you touch the wrong thing at the wrong time, there's no take backs. You're a no-go.
You're really hoping you sneeze or something, and you're like,
did he blink? Yeah. Oh God, hopefully he blinked, didn't pay attention.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just a prolonged period of like having intense attention to detail through 30 different tasks.
Okay, and then so what's as they train, it's daily. It's like just a duty day, maybe a little bit longer, obviously, if it's transportation or if they want to stay out there longer to train. But now execution week. What's a week look like for a soldier going through this E3B training? As far as what day does it start? How many days is it? How's it culminate and all that stuff?
So usually the train-up days, we've actually done a really good job this year, I think, of allowing the candidates to have like maximum time to get that round robin at the end, get that extra training on the task that they know that they need help in. So they show up, chows from 5:30 to 6:30, and then we have formation. We'll gather everybody's CACs, and then we take them through lanes, and it's hourly rotation. So every hour you'll rotate. That'll last until about 1700, and then from 17 to 19, we've been letting them do the round robin type style training where they can go to whichever lane they want to and get reps.
Find a week or whatever their weakness may be, and get on it. So okay, and then what about execution week?
Execution week's a little bit more stressful. It starts a little bit earlier as well, which we found out today. So Sunday at 3:30, the graders will show up. We have our first round of EPFA that starts at 04. And right from there...
What's EPFA?
EPFA is an expert physical fitness assessment, and it's just a myriad of... So you start out with a 1-mile run in uniform, boots, and kit. 1-mile run, come back, do some dead stop push-ups. Then you go to, I think it's 16 sandbags over a 6-foot wall or some number. IMTs, probably a water can carry, and then another 1-mile run.
Is there what's the standard that that you have to go through? Is it just do it, like complete it, or
it's a timed event? EIB I think is 25 minutes, and then ESB and EFMB have 30 minutes to complete the whole EPFA.
Oh, why do they get 5 extra minutes?
I don't know.
Because they're soft MOSs.
I'm not going to say it.
It's your quote, not mine.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm kidding, everybody. Everybody's equal here. So after Sunday physical fitness test, what do you go?
They immediately get on a bus, get bussed up to TA-12, and they start their day portion of land nav.
Okay.
And then once they're complete, they'll do night land nav. That'll finish day 1, and then day 2 we'll start whichever. So we've got it broken down into groups. So we have red, white, blue. Each color will go to a different lane. So we'll start lanes day number 2, and then that'll go until everybody finishes their lanes, and it caps off with a 12-mile ruck and then a M4 functions check.
That's the
That's the
mystery event.
The mystery event
That you just blew forever. I'm just
Yeah, it's
kidding.
not a mystery.
This is gonna come out on Thursday anyway. After
It's all on YouTube.
yeah, so good. What do you think is the hardest part of going? So are they actually stay overnight? So there's like now like it's like almost like a week in the field as well, or do they get released at maybe 8 o'clock at night, but they get released and then they just have to be back at 5:30 in the morning?
They get released. A lot of people will go back to their COFs and they'll train weapons tasks or whatever stuff that they're having issues with. They'll train there. I did it last year and there wasn't a lot of sleep.
Yeah.
I'll say that. It's, especially if you like me, like I needed a lot of help. So I was back in the COF getting the reps and sets to make sure that I wasn't a no-go. But they get released. They just come back the next day. It's nothing too crazy.
Right. So so you could just last year you just said completed it last year. Well,
Yes, sir.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And then out here tasking you to be an instructor. That's probably why they let you complete it last year. They needed instructors this year.
It's just like the rank of corporal.
Yeah.
It's just so they could have some for CQ.
That's right. That's actually a patent pending Army trademark there as far as how we get that. So, I will ask you about your like kind of like what you went through last year. But I was gonna kind of see like what is once you get to the ruck march, like what's your kind of like mindset kind of going after you just kind of did that whole week, and because it's 12 miles in 3 hours.
3 hours.
3 hours.
35 pounds drive.
Okay. Like kind of like that's still semi difficult, especially after a whole week. Legs are probably a little bit dead.
Yep.
What was kind of like your mindset, and then the others that were with you? What was that mindset going into that last event, knowing that you just had to finish?
So last year I ended up finishing testing with Lieutenant Sika, who is my PL. Man's an animal, and I tried to tell him that I'm a little older than he is, that I would prefer to not go out of the gate too quick. And I think our first 2 miles were at 9:40, and I was like, all right, sir, have a good one. I'll see you at the end.
Because I think you just have to average 15 minutes to make that, right?
Yes, sir.
And you were, okay, so a little ahead of time.
Young, ambitious lieutenant.
Yeah.
So usually 12 miles are not really a thing, but like after you go through the whole week, you're like, anything can happen. Like you could cramp up or anything. So, and you're obviously sitting in the sun for 3 weeks before. You're not eating that well because you're getting MREs and stuff like that. And then the sleep thing. So it's, one, you're trying not to fail, and then two, like the last 3 miles, you're sitting there with your weapon slung, running through the steps for the mystery event, so you don't get there and you drop the ball on that, and everything was a waste.
Yeah,
so,
a waste of
waste of all your time. So it's just you just got to finish and don't quit, and then don't fail the M4.
Yeah, just don't. It's just like, again, something you learn even in basic training is you have to qualify on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a skill, and then all of a sudden it's just maybe you squeeze the trigger at the wrong time, trying to hear the click, and you just mess it up. Did you see anybody fail the mystery event?
I didn't see anybody fail the mystery event, which is not a mystery anymore, but there were some people that failed the 12 mile, which is
oh my gosh, yeah, that's rough. I mean, same thing. I mean, like Ranger School too. If you go through and all of a sudden you just don't get it, like.
And it's to be like to fail something where you're just walking. You did all 30 of these tasks perfectly, and you just had to walk.
And but like what you're saying, a little bit harder at that point, given the physical exhaustion that you're facing there. So one thing I was thinking about as you were talking, we talk about these things as if they're equal, but ESB is relatively new. EFMB has been around a while, but getting your EIB is a big deal in the infantry community. And I'm not saying it's not a big deal in like the Army to get your ESB, or in the medical community to get your EFMB. I think it's just as important to them, but it's noticeable in your guys' community as far as like pushing soldiers to make sure they get out there. If it's almost like, do you have it? Do you not? Like, why is that so important in the infantry world?
I think it's just the base level of credibility you get. So if you show up to your unit and you have an EIB, or it's just like a PL showing up without a Ranger tab. It's like,
right.
okay, like he might be a great dude, but you're gonna have to prove yourself. Whereas if you have it, it's like, okay, you have a little bit of credibility when you sit at the table.
Yeah.
And then also the way with the infantry stuff, how it works is everybody has these career glide paths, and right smack dab in the middle of it is an EIB. So it's like now it's like you're that senior staff sergeant trying to make E7, and it's like, this is the one thing that I need to get promoted.
Which is, and again, I think you said it too. I mean, just because you don't have, you didn't maybe accomplish get your Ranger tab, just, could be a myriad of issues there.
Yep.
Just because you could have got hurt every time you go out through get your EIB. But I think it's we do it all across the Army. Like everyone does it. I don't think it ever stops. Like if, people notice if you have a Ranger tab, people notice if you have a scroll on your arm, just because it's like
you see people look. It's
and I think it shows that you've done something difficult, right? And you've because obviously I don't have it, and probably should now that we're talking about it. Not being non-committal. I'm gonna be non-committal. Maybe I'll see you next week. But it's how much do you use that though? I don't want to say like you use it against somebody, but how much do you kind of like use that as maybe judging somebody initially versus, okay, like I got it, you don't have any of the cool bells and whistles on your uniform, but you're a really hard worker, good dude, and you'll kill yourself for us.
I think some of the best leaders I've ever met in the Army don't have a tab or an EIB or any of that stuff. So I think, like I was saying, it's just the initial like, okay, like he did the thing. But I don't think it's a sign of like if you're good or bad or whatever, because I don't have a tab, and I don't think that I think there's more to being a leader than a tab. And
absolutely.
It's just an initial like, okay, you did the hard thing. But I wouldn't see it really goes into play once you actually get to work with somebody and you see their work ethic and like their level of knowledge. I don't think it really goes into play.
Okay. Well, speaking about leadership, what do you do now? What's your current job?
So I'm in 2nd Brigade. I'm the sniper section leader for 118.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, sir.
How's that?
It's okay. I started the Army in like I was telling you before, at 3rd ID. I started in a sniper section, so it's kind of just like going back home, like back to what I originally did.
So to be in the sniper section, does that mean you are?
I'm actually not. I'm the only person in my sniper section not Bravo 4 qualified.
Perfect.
Yes.
Are you trying to go?
I would love to go.
Yeah.
I'll take any opportunity to do any school.
Okay, you guys heard that, right? Let's get him to the school.
Yeah, you guys do the thing.
So what does the sniper section do, especially in a heavy unit? I think when I first heard that there's a sniper section when I was a battalion S1, I was actually in 270 here. I didn't know that we had a sniper section, and it didn't make sense to me because I was like, oh, we're a heavy unit. Why do we need that? But obviously proved vital in a lot of cases once I kind of saw it. But what do you guys do for the battalion and the organization?
So we're aligned with the scout platoon that's in 118, and our big goal is to basically paint the battlefield picture for the battalion commander. We get out there. We go out before they start their planning phase, and then we help feed them information to help them plan for the rest of the battalion. Specifically, we can do. Everybody wants to shoot the long guns and do all that stuff. Realistically, the goal is to accurately report what we're seeing. If
that's like an emergency.
The gun is the last step.
Yeah.
It's call for fire, paint the picture, and hopefully you don't have to shoot the long gun.
How do you feel like your team?
We actually just had dudes go out to do ISC at Fort Benning.
What's that?
International Sniper Comp.
Okay.
I think it was a good showing for the amount of training up we were able to get. It was kind of thrown together last minute, it's perfectly fine. I think they did perfectly. Like, those dudes are studs. They got out there. A lot of people do this stuff where they talk about doing things. They told me they wanted to go, and they actually did it. A lot of people talk about doing stuff, they never do it. So
what's that competition like?
It changes a little bit every year. This year they did the names of the competitions because I was having to report how they were doing.
Yeah.
So some of the names of the events, I was just like, this is odd that we would call this. But shooting movers, limited visibility shoots, shooting under night vision. They had an M4 pistol, which.
And in an emergency,
If sure. That's good. Like I said, the last thing you want to do is shoot the gun, much less the pistol.
So it's kind of like a good Army training where the competition is everything you probably wouldn't do if you're actually executing your job for the battalion, because you're shooting all these things, which is great. I know snipers need to be marksmen. They need to be able to engage at long distance. I totally get it. I'm kind of playing dumb here. But then to actually support your unit, man, you really don't want to. You don't want to be in a position, because especially in a heavy unit like.
Now we're compromised, and now they're going to start looking for
your rifle. It means nothing compared to the tanks and other armored vehicles out there.
Yeah.
Interesting and kind of funny to me. So how long have you been in the military?
12 years.
Wow. Okay. What are some of the things? Because 12 years is a long time. I think the Army has grown. I mean, shoot, I think the Army's grown a lot in the last 3 or 4 years as far as transformation.
100%.
But what are some of the things that you remember as a private when you came in, and now as a seasoned staff sergeant? I'm saying seasoned because I don't know. That's the beauty of sometimes wearing a rank. You don't know if it's a day old or 3 years old. As an experienced staff sergeant, what are some of these things that you've seen? Whether it's just like culturally or like Army transformatively, that you're like, oh man, this is like these are some good things, these are some bad things, or it's just different.
I think when I came in, there's a little bit more of a focus on. There wasn't a lot of rules, at least that people followed back then. But I think a big focus for every company commander back then was physical fitness was the heavy hitter, and then lethality, and then so given I was a private then, so some of the stuff I know now may have been going on back then. Like I'm not blind to that.
Understood.
But I feel like we were just everybody's just training up for the next deployment, and now it's kind of like we're in that garrison type environment where it's like we have to go back to that style of leadership, have to like actually do the garrison things correctly to make the unit successful. And I think the biggest thing is, like, if you look at it now, you have to be your rucksack has to be bigger as a leader now, because like you're faced with a lot of different problems from a lot of different angles, whereas like back then it was like, it's okay, we're about to deploy, we'll handle this when we get back.
Right.
So I think just the leaders nowadays have to, it's kind of astonishing to see like all the different problems that like a platoon sergeant and PL company commander, those people have to face in a day. And I think just being able to bounce from thing to thing to thing, because now it's like, if you look at a company commander now, which I guess my company commander did it back then, but it's like I feel there's so many meetings and syncs that everybody has to go to. It's like, this does not seem like something
I
fun.
think it's, I mean, I think it's almost an undervalued, gosh, I don't want to say this. It's like we call it, being a fire and forget sort of leader, right? Like I want, like if I'm a PL or your company commander, I want you to know the tasks that I need you to accomplish and just do them. And I don't want to have to check it. I will check in on you, but I just don't want to have to, because I think there is maybe an unspoken, like this, like people are busier than you think they are. And I know my previous brigade commander said it, any time that we're asking commanders at that level to do something, like one more thing, he's like, gosh, like I didn't do this much when I was a captain, and now these guys are doing, feels like 10 times more things. So what are some of the things that you do as a senior enlisted leader in your unit to like help your commander and first sergeant, or because you also kind of work for battalion commander, command sergeant major as well. Like what are some of the things that you've kind of picked up in your time that young soldiers today can start leaning on? Whether it's like, hey, you can't just like think you're going to be taught everything. You have to do some self-learning, or what are some of the things that you picked up that has helped make you successful?
I think one of the things that I learned early on, and I didn't think about this back then, but they used to set a whiteboard down and they would draw terrain on a map and let us, and be like, okay, here's your enemy, here's what your enemy is, here's what you have, and they basically just let you war game, and then they would let you pitch what you would do, which I think translated pretty well later on, because like now, like I don't mind writing orders, like helping my PL do orders for the platoon, and I think that's one of the biggest things now, is just learn 2 levels up, which I think kind of has become like a dying art. Just know
Right.
know the next two steps, and that has to be the biggest one, because I see a lot of times where it's just the PL with 5 different binders out, 15 packs of map markers, going to town, and I'm like, how can I help you right now?
Right. Like
And,
we need to delegate these tasks.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
and to most of the officers' credits, like, I mean, they know their talent pool, so it's like they don't want something to not go the way that they don't want it to be. Like, they have to delegate some tasks, and then they, like, the other NCOs or whatever leader it is, like, they have to be able to go in and help and say, hey sir, what do you need me to do to help?
Yeah, and that's where I'll push back, like on the officers, because I've been there. I know exactly what I want, so I just said, and I know, like, I know the training I've gone through, and I know, and I'm pretty sure you haven't gone through the same training I have.
Absolutely.
And so I just don't trust you to do it.
Yep.
And in reality, and then when I really finally figure out I need you to do it, is that NTC or we're in the field, and I don't have time to teach you now because we just have to get this
Yep.
order out. So I've been there, and it's frustrating. And now I look back, and now, you know, I'm on the division staff here. So I actually, you know, we get captains that are up there as well. And I look at them and say, if you're ever, like, whatever section that you're in charge of in the G1, like, if you are in charge of something and you can't go into the meeting and brief on behalf of the G1, like, because she can't make it, you know, that's where you need to get to. Because, like you said, 2 levels up for them would be that seat. And you know, Lord willing, you're not going. Hopefully, you don't ever have to go to brief on her behalf.
Worst case scenario.
But if you did, like, if we have to step up to the plate, that's where you should train yourself to be. And if you can't do that, like, that's where, like, okay, like, let's work together and do that.
Yeah.
And I think we don't give that same grade. Because I'm talking about captains, right? So again, officers, like, higher responsibility, higher expectation, just in general. But we don't trust our privates and specialists that same way. But again, they're more than capable of doing these things. They just need to be taught.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for the enlisted side is when you go to Bullock, whichever one you go to, I Bullock, A Bullock,
Sure.
whichever one. A big piece of that, and this is you coming in the Army, a big piece of that is you get drilled on op orders the whole time. Whereas on the enlisted side, you don't really start even looking at an op order other than when your PL tells you some random stuff, and he just asks you, what's the platoon's mission, and get some quasi back brief at the end. You don't mess with any of that stuff until you become a senior E5 or an E6. So I think there's a level of, like, just they don't understand what they don't understand.
Right.
So that's why I'm thankful for the leadership I had back then, like, giving me the opportunity and showing me, like, hey, like, we're doing. They didn't really tell me what it was for, but it translated. So I'm just thankful that they did that, like, and they knew what it would translate to when I got older.
So as and I'm gonna ask you, take a second to think about this one, because so as you sit back and reflect now, as we kind of verbalize this stuff, what are things that you're doing now that you think is working to get your platoon to think at a higher level, or trying to get them to think at a higher level, versus one of those things you're like, hey, as I kind of sit back and talk this through, I need to focus on some of this stuff more, like focus on getting them to this point.
I think some of the stuff, so I do that same thing I just told you about with the whiteboard, especially, so I was in ACO 118 before I went to HHC to take over the sniper section. I would do the same stuff with them, and as they would brief, I would just let them, I'd hold all the stuff, hold all my comments till the end, and then I would ask them why. Because a big thing now is, like, everybody asks why.
Yeah.
And if they could articulate it, awesome. If not, I would show them why I would do it a different way. Like, why, just showing them the thought process as to, like, why some leaders do the things that they do. That way it's like they might find their own way to do it, but at least they know they have a base. I think I do need to do a better job at not so much training management, but just being able to incorporate a sniper section into like a 19 Delta Cav Scout platoon inside of a mechanized formation. I think, like you said, when you originally got here and you found out they were snipers, it's kind of like, what really are we going to do?
What are we going to do with them?
We have IBAZs, that stable platform systems that can see for miles. But I think, and I've talked to Lieutenant Colonel Brown about this, I need to do a better job, and so does the scout platoon, at getting out early ahead of the battalion to be able to paint that picture. So That's probably the improve there.
Simple in concept, like
Yep.
difficult though when it's time to
Yep.
to get down and do it. Okay, so well, that's interesting, and I hope you do those things to get those soldiers to be a little bit better. I think
Yep.
it's as easy as I mean, it's not as easy as it sounds. I think everyone knows sometimes how difficult it is just to find that little time to train a sniper section, let alone, with all the other competing
Yeah.
requirements that you sometimes get. But it's good to hear that you guys are doing that for your soldiers, and hopefully, if you're out there and you're trying to struggle, look to Sergeant East, and he'll help square you away, or you can help square him away with better techniques.
Please do. Please do.
All right, so a little bit back to E3B. How many people approximately? I don't know if you're 100% tracking. How many people do we have coming out?
So right now we have 580 EIB, ESB candidates, and I think 62 EFMB candidates.
Okay, so just over 600 folks. How many do you think will make it through?
Hopefully all, but I'm a realist. Probably, I would say probably 60, 70.
And I ask you that because I was gonna say like less than 50, which just goes to show like how hard this is. And I know I was playing dumb earlier with how simple these tasks are. You're doing you're assembling, disassembly, weapons checks. You're doing all these things, right? With all these different weapon systems, there's lanes, and I know it's difficult. As I think last year the EFMB like folks is like less than 10. If I
100%.
like even. I can't remember for sure. That's why I'm not being for certain, but I want to even say it was less than that. So accomplishing these things is very difficult. What do you think is what gets people the most?
I think now that this is my first time grading one, so I've never
Okay.
really had gotten to see the side of it. But I think you get so nervous before you go up there. And I've told everybody, the goal for this week is not get every task to 100%. Nobody's brain can hold all that information in. There's a lot of steps for everyone. I've been telling them get to about a 90%, and then on test day, get 3 good reps before you go across to actually test, and then try to do it that way. But people try to remember every step, so you'll hear people in the javelin station talking about the 240. That's not how you go about it. When you're at that station,
Only speak javelins.
put the blinders on.
Yeah.
We're only at jav. So I think it's just, I don't know. Find a good person to train up with, and then just hopefully both make it through. Because I know what it's like trying to do it alone. Because last year I was running with my PSG, and then he got out, and I was like, now what, man? I'm
Darn.
alone and afraid out here.
Well, you found your PL out there.
Yeah, that man's a stud. Man. So oddly enough, backstory: I met Lieutenant Stika at Bradley Leaders Course when I was at Benning. I didn't even know he was coming to Raleigh, and I met him. I worked in brigade, and I came down in 118 to platoon. My PSG was, me and him were both E5s together in the same platoon when I was at Stewart, and then my PL was Lieutenant Stika. So it was just like a
Wow.
family reunion down
That's
there.
awesome. That's great to hear. Speaking of, how long have you been here at Riley?
I got here in 2023.
Okay, so leaving next summer or trying to stick around?
I'm on drill orders right now.
Oh, congrats, dude. Do you know where you're going?
I
Well,
don't have orders for where
okay.
yet, so I have the academy in October.
Okay. Well, good luck there. Speaking of learning the basics to an expert level, and tough hours, man. I can only imagine. But most people say it was rewarding after the fact. So
I'm sure I might.
it's definitely one of those jobs. Well, that's super awesome. October. So you've been at Riley for a couple years. What are some of the most fun things you've done here? And what are some of the things that you found out about Riley or the area itself, Manhattan, Junction City, that you were kind of surprised about when you got here?
I didn't know this was as much of like a hunting area as it was. My buddy Nick Corluck, he was in 1st Brigade. He hunts all the time, and I didn't understand. Like, I'm from Virginia. There's not really elk there. So when I was driving down the highway and I looked over and I was like, what is that thing? Why are there reindeer in Kansas? So the hunting, all of
This is
pretty
where
good.
Santa summers.
That's what I heard. He came here for all the beaches.
Yeah, that's right.
He came here for Milford Lake. The hunting, and then I think one of the funnest things I've done here, to be honest, is probably NTC, because I went to NTC one other time when I was at 3rd ID. We went with 10th Group, so I got a different experience. So then I got to come back.
Wildly different.
Vastly, to say the least. But it was a good experience. I think anytime you do something hard with with a group of people, it just
Oh, yeah.
builds that bond.
For sure,
And
yeah.
I think that was probably one of my most fun experiences.
Have you been outside? I know you said you live here on Fort Riley proper. But what's one of the most fun things you've done outside of Fort Riley?
So I'm a huge baseball fan. I'm a Braves fan by trade, but I went to a Royals game, and I always been a Salvador Perez fan. So when he played rookie ball for the Royals, he came and played in my hometown because there used to be a minor league team there in Pulaski, Virginia. So I got to see him as a rookie, and then I came here, and his first at bat, he hit like a 450-foot nuke.
Did you catch it?
I was behind home plate,
So
no.
Okay, well that would have been kind of a better end of that story. But so baseball fan, that's great. You guys make it to a lot of games?
Not much. Work schedule's pretty
Okay,
pretty
well
strenuous.
I'll call somebody, see if we can lighten that up a little bit.
I'm sure it'll help.
It won't actually. It'll
Make it worse.
it'll make it way worse for you. All right, so E3B coming up. So that'll be good luck next week getting through that. Good luck to all the soldiers out there. Hopefully, by the time you're listening to this, you're walking across that finish line on the Ruck March and doing that mystery event.
Ruined it for you. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. I really didn't want to know what it was. October drill school, so good luck with that.
Sure.
And most importantly, I truly appreciate you taking the time today to come out, talking about E3B, getting a little bit more in depth. I think it's good to, not everybody goes through it, so it's good to highlight what the soldiers are going through. I mean, obviously, as somebody who just did it last year and you're out here again this year, I think it's important. And so, thank you. I appreciate you coming out.
Thanks for having me on, sir.
Yeah, no problem.